melody using the score editor. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is check that when you have opened the template called Composing with Scales, that you have pointer tool selected here, which should be how the template comes. But then here in this right click tool, I think it's really, really helpful to select pencil tool. So what you should have is a pointer as a left click and then pencil as a right click. Okay, now the first thing we need to do is we need to create an empty region. So we're going to activate our pencil tool by pressing Command on our keyboard. That activates the pencil tool. I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to pull this region out so that we have 4 bars here, 4 bars of nothing. Now, at the moment, we've got piano roll selected, so we can see we've got our piano roll here. Instead of piano roll, we want score. Okay, so now we have 4 empty bars. Now, you should see all the different note values here. If you don't, for whatever reason, click inside this white area and these note values should appear. Okay, so what we are going to try and do is input this melody into the score editor here. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways. First of all, I'm just going to focus on the rhythm only. So my rhythm here is tam, ti 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 ta, ti 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 ta. Okay, so the way I'll just close this, tam, ti 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 ta was bar 1. So I need to select tam from down the bottom. And now using my MIDI keyboard, I'm just going to play the note C3. Okay, which should input that note. But as you can see, it has not done that because I need to have this button clicked. That's very important. So click that button. Now if I press C3, it'll input this note here. Now notice how it's inputted a minim and I selected dotted crotchet. That's because until I select T and now press C3 again on my MIDI keyboard, it won't realize that rhythm fully. So that's just a quirk of the software. So we've got tam, T, 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 ta. Is that what I had? Tam. Oh, and we've lost that. Here we go, open recent. There it is, tam, T, 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 ta. Okay, so we've already got T selected. So again, just C3. I'm just going to go T, press, press, and then crotchet. Notice how I select the value before I play C3. There we go. So I got tam, T, 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 ta. And then the next bar was T, 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 ta. So again, we go select quaver, T, 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 and then we change to ta and select. Now, just to note that sometimes if you do make a mistake, it's easier sometimes to delete the whole bar and start again than it is to try and fix your mistake. Now be aware, when you put the cursor at the beginning of the bar, put it on this line here, not right at the beginning of the bar like this. This creates issues. So make sure it's on this white line up here, the cursor, and then you can input that rhythm, T, 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 ta. So I made a mistake here. It looks like a tar, but I still had T selected, so I'm going to delete, put the cursor on beat 4, select crotchet, and there we go. So that's method number 1, almost complete. What we do need to do, just to finish off there, is now we need to move these notes so that they are matching these pitch. So we've got C, D, E, D, E, right? So we go like this, C, this note should be a D. So it's not enough just to put it where it looks like it's correct on the stave. You need to make sure that pitch corresponds to where you want it, so you can move it like that. Okay, now the other way of doing this, of course, is rather than moving the notes to the pitch you want like this, I'll just delete everything, start again, is you go through and do the steps exactly as I did here, except rather than just inputting the rhythm and then changing the notes, you can input rhythm and pitch at the same time. So here we've got a dotted crotchet C, so we select dotted crotchet, play the note C. Again, it'll look like a minim, But don't worry, because we need to input the quaver. And here we can see the quaver should be the note D. So instead of playing C3, I'm going to play D3. So we've got tam, T, and then we've got E and D both as quavers. So I select quaver, and then I go E, D. And that's inputting pitch and rhythm at the same time. So two different ways of doing it, but just make sure you've got this red button selected, or it will not input anything you need. Okay, good luck and happy music making.